Hello, and welcome back to Factorio. I am Dorthek, and this is episode 31 of our Factorio 0.17 and 0.18 tutorial walkthrough Let's Play. In the last episode, we began work on our nuclear power setup. We built this array here to refine uranium ore into U-238 and U-235, which we will use to feed our power plant. So if this is where we're going to place our reactors, we want to feed them and we want to get the heat power out. But the nice thing is, because they interlock the heat pipes right there, you can see it's kind of done for you. You don't have to connect your heat pipes to every single part of it. We can do something like this, and that will work. And that means we can bring in our fuel here. However, there's one more wrinkle to this, and that's that when the reactor is done, it produces a spent fuel cell. The output of this will be a spent fuel cell, which we have to remove. And again, we can do that like so. We will need power. And on this side, we don't even need these jumps. Now, a single fuel cell always lasts 200 seconds in a reactor, so we really don't need to be worried about the speed of our inserters here. Let's get okay. So that's how we're going to feed this, and then our heat is going to come out this way somehow. And we want to interlink this so that it all works nicely together. So what our calculator told us is that we want 80 exchangers, and that can be fed by a minimum of 7 offshore pumps. Now, that's not a good ratio, so we'll just use an extra offshore pumps. They're cheap. We'll use 8 of them. And 138 divided by 80 means that we need about 1.725 of these guys per heat exchanger. But if we say we're going to run 8 columns of these, then really what it's saying is that we need 17 and a quarter of these. We'll round it up and make it 18. So here's what our columns are going to look like. Let's start in the middle. Is this the middle? So a column is going to have 10 of these. 1, 2, that's 10. That's 11. And we want to connect it to 18 steam turbines, but of course that doesn't line up nicely, so what we're going to do is run a pipe. And you'll notice that here I'm not using underground jumps because that would just get annoying. And we're gonna need that's 7. That's 14. And we said 18. So 4 more. Okay. Now, this is one column, and we also want to we need to bring water into it. So we're gonna bring it over this way. And again, like the refinery, this is inspired by some of KOS's modular designs. You can take a look at them on her website, but I'm not using her blueprint, but my design is heavily inspired by her. Okay, let's see. Follower robot count 4, and we're almost out of science to research. Now, we also need power poles. And the last thing we want to do to make these arrays work well is link up the steam on the other side. So to do that, we're gonna do power. That's where the power poles are. So those are looking funny, but this is going to be a row. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Let's just grab the power poles so that they line up nicely. Okay. That works. So this is 2 complete stacks. And of course we need 8 of these. So we can just grab this whole thing. Not quite. Because we do not want these here. Okay, so pipes, power poles. We grab this. It will lock on like that. We grab this. It will lock on like that. And there's 6. And we need 2 more stacks like it. But we want to use the inner part of the stack to match with this. So we want this here. And then we want this part of it on the other side. Now, we need to make sure we get heat pipes to all of it. And that is our power plant, except for needing to bring in water. Now, the cheat sheet also told us one more thing. it told us that we want 66 tanks. So, 66 tanks can go conveniently at the ends of these pipes. Let's take a look at what we can do. This is a pipe there. We'll need to extend it by one. So each of these pipes will need to be one longer. That's not a problem. So we can do 1, 2, 3, offset by 1, 4. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, it's not going to be quite symmetrical because it's here we need an offset, there we don't. That's okay. Let's just make it fit somehow. Okay, and then we can do that. And that. And fill in a few more pieces of pipe. Like so. Okay, so what does that get us? That gets us 48. We need 66. That's 18 more. So we need 18 more. Let's see. Can't place them where they will bind with those, but let's build them out on the edges. Let's just make sure we're bringing all of these out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we can just place them more or less anywhere we want. Four. 8. 10. 12. 14, 16. We need 2 more. Let's put them here and 1 here. Okay, and that's our completed array. The only thing that's left is to bring in water, which we can do from over here. Honestly, I was expecting this to be longer. We could have moved all of this further to the left, but that's okay. We will just bring water in. Now, we don't need to build all of this, obviously, because we are planning on only having 1 nuclear reactor at first. So we want to build just enough to run off that 1 reactor. Which means that we are on this line. We need a measly 4 of these, 7 of those, 4 of those, and 1 water pump. So, let's do that. We only need 4 turbines. Let's see. Actually, we want these first 4. I just don't want to run unnecessary turbine. Now we're gonna need 7 engines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, look at that. Perfect. We have 7. And they're offset, but it doesn't matter because they're on the same pipeline. And we need only 4 tanks. Well, we'll have too many tanks, that's okay. The extra tanks are cheap and I see no reason to delete. The important thing is we need to make sure that we get an offshore pump installed in place. I don't believe we have one with us, so we will need to go and get it. Now research seems to have stalled. Let's take a look and see what's going on. It looks like it's stalled because of blue. Blue is not getting in red circuits. Not really a surprise there. And red circuits is stalled because it's not getting any copper. We're getting a trickle of copper. So copper is becoming critical. We're definitely going to need to add that very soon. So we're actually ready to go, except that we're missing the nuclear fuel and a fuel pump. So we will work on that next time. Let's take a look how we're doing over here. We're up to 38. Yay. Not really enough, but it's something. Once we get well past 40, we're going to put 40 aside to do Kovarex with, and we can start producing actual nuclear power. So now you know everything you need to know to design and build your nuclear power station. So why don't you go ahead and try one of those yourselves? As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, consider giving it a thumbs up. That would help us a lot with visibility of the channel. Other folks can find it. And as always, don't forget to save.